All right, hey everyone, welcome back. You know how sometimes you just want to get right to the heart of things, understand the really key stuff without wading through tons of information?
Absolutely.
That's what we're all about here. Think of this as your shortcut, your personal cheat sheet to understanding something pretty darn fundamental, how your incredible eyes actually work.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it, when you really stop to think about it?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
We've got this document with us called Document Sense Title 15 IBN TXT. Try saying that 5 times fast. But seriously, folks, it's packed with fascinating insights that might just make you see the world, well, differently, pun intended.
I think our listeners going to get a real kick out of
I
this.
think so too.
Yeah.
So what we're aiming to do in this deep dive, right, is to pull out those golden nuggets of information, the really crucial stuff from this document. We want you to walk away with a crystal clear picture of how this whole vision system operates, the surprising and maybe even a little alarming trends we're seeing when it comes to vision problems these days.
hmm
And most importantly, what you can actually do about it. Some actionable takeaways that you can, think about and apply to your own life.
Exactly. And to get us started, I think it's really important to address this idea that, your eyesight, it's not just about being able to read the bottom line on an eye chart.
Right. There's so much more to it.
Exactly. It has a ripple effect, a much broader impact on our lives than we might realize at first.
Absolutely. So have you ever considered that your eyesight actually impacts way more than just, what you see? I mean, we're talking mood, concentration, how well you sleep, the whole shebang.
Oh, yeah, it's all interconnected. Our senses and vision in particular, they influence our physical and mental well-being in ways we're only beginning to fully appreciate, I think.
Right. It's fascinating. And you know what? This document jumps right into that. Emphasizing that sight is like our VIP sense. It's the main way we take in information about the world around us. I mean, think about it. Our brains are tucked away inside our skulls, right? They rely heavily on our senses to make sense of everything that's going on outside.
Absolutely. Our eyes are the windows to our brains, you could say.
Exactly. And because of that, good vision, it's not just about, perfect 20/20 vision on an eye chart.
Right.
It's so much deeper than that.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets really interesting, and I think this is what a lot of people listening in might find surprising. This document really stresses that good vision has a huge impact on our ability to focus, our emotional state, how we behave, and it's the sense we rely on most for like staying safe, navigating our surroundings, and even just avoiding bumping into things,
Yeah.
right?
It's true. We often take for granted how much we depend on our vision until it starts to deteriorate. Then it suddenly becomes very clear.
Oh, for sure. And that brings us to a pretty major concern that the document raises, and it's one that I think is on a lot of people's minds these days.
Yeah, the rise in myopia and nearsightedness, it's really become an epidemic, hasn't it?
It really has. And the document goes into some pretty eye-opening statistics, pun intended again, about the increasing prevalence of myopia, not just in children, but adults as well.
Mm.
I mean, it's becoming more and more common to see folks over 40 struggling with close-up vision, which is known as presbyopia. It's almost like we've come to accept these vision issues as a normal part of aging or modern life, but this document challenges that assumption.
Mm.
And it does so by presenting some pretty striking numbers. You ready for this?
Hit me with it.
Okay, so back in the 1970s, in certain countries, less than 25% of the population was nearsighted. Now, fast forward to the 2000s, bam, that number jumps to a whopping 42%.
Wow.
Yeah. And in some places like Hong Kong, Singapore, and Taiwan, it's even more dramatic. Get this, 80% of young people, kids under 20, are dealing with myopia.
That's huge. It really highlights the fact that something has changed, something significant, in a relatively short amount of time. And the document makes the point that just a few centuries ago, widespread nearsightedness was incredibly rare. This rapid increase points to a dramatic shift, and the document suggests that those changes are likely both environmental and epigenetic, meaning not changes to our genes themselves, but changes in how our genes are expressed, influenced by our environment and lifestyle.
So you're saying that even if someone has nearsightedness running in their family, it might not be an inevitable fate.
That's what the document suggests, yes. By providing our eyes with the right kind of stimulation and creating a supportive environment, we might be able to influence those epigenetic factors and potentially reduce the risk of developing myopia.
That's encouraging news.
Yeah.
So much of what we thought was predetermined might actually be within our control to some extent.
And to understand what our eyes need, The document dives into the mechanics of how our vision actually works, emphasizing the role of the retina. Because, as it points out, without that understanding, we might fall prey to, all those claims about miracle supplements that promise to fix your vision overnight.
Oh yeah, those are everywhere. It's easy to get caught up in those quick fixes, but this document really encourages us to go deeper to understand the fundamentals.
Exactly. So let's zoom in on the retina for a moment. The document explains that its main job is to capture light that enters our eyes and transform it into electrical signals that the brain can then interpret as images. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. The retina's impact extends way beyond just seeing.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Your retina, it's a real multitasker, and it's involved in your balance, mood regulation, attention span, overall brain activity, and even your daily sleep-wake cycle. These are all crucial aspects of our well-being that are deeply intertwined with our vision and how the retina processes light.
It's incredible how interconnected everything is. And speaking of light, the document brings up a really interesting point about screens, which, let's face it, are a huge part of our lives these days. It explains that screens use electricity to generate light through LEDs. Those are light-emitting diodes, and they typically emit red, green, and blue light. Now, our retinas, on the other hand, have these specialized cells called cones that happen to be sensitive to those same colors, and they transform them into electrical signals that our brain uses to form images.
So there's a kind of parallel there between how screens produce light and how our eyes perceive it.
Exactly. But then the document delves into this comparison with natural light, and it makes you wonder if maybe those parallels aren't so straightforward after all.
That's right. It's not just about the colors. It's about the full spectrum of light and the way it interacts with our eyes and our whole system.
Makes sense. So can we talk a bit more about those cells in the retina, the rods and cones you mentioned earlier?
Absolutely. So the document explains that rods are far more numerous than cones, and they're found mainly in the peripheral parts of the retina.
Which is the area responsible for our side vision, right?
Exactly. And while they don't distinguish color, rods are incredibly sensitive to light, making them key players in our ability to see in low light conditions. Think of them as your night vision goggles, helping you navigate in the dark.
Ah, that makes sense. So what about the cones?
Cones, they're all about color and visual acuity. There are three types, each sensitive to a specific part of the light spectrum: red, green, and blue.
Just like those LEDs and screens.
Right. And they're responsible for our sharp, detailed vision, especially in bright light. Interestingly, the areas of the retina that are packed with cones are where we have the sharpest vision.
Yep.
So your cones, they're like your high-definition color cameras, giving you that crisp, vibrant view of the world.
Okay, so we have these specialized cells, rods and cones, working together to capture and process light. But how does that information actually get translated into, the images we see?
That's where those amazing proteins called opsins come in. And here's a key takeaway. All opsins rely on vitamin A. As the document clearly states, without enough vitamin A, your vision is going to be in real trouble.
So eating those carrots might actually have some truth to it after all.
There's definitely something to be said for a balanced diet. And speaking of different opsins, the document then highlights melanopsin, which is found in special light-sensitive cells in the retina, especially in the lower part. Now, this one plays a crucial role in regulating our internal clock, our circadian rhythm.
Ah, the circadian rhythm, that's the internal clock that tells our bodies when it's time to sleep, wake up, eat, and all that, right?
Exactly. And what's interesting is that melanopsin doesn't just respond to blue light, like many people believe, but rather to the total amount of light we're exposed to.
So more light means daytime to the brain, and less light signals that it's time to wind down for sleep.
Precisely. And the document even suggests that a lack of melanopsin stimulation is a big reason why we tend to sleep so much when we're in darkness for extended periods. It plays a role in pupil constriction as well.
Interesting. I've definitely noticed that I feel sleepier when it's dark and gloomy outside. It's like my body is saying, hey, let's just hibernate for the winter.
It's all part of our natural rhythms, deeply connected to light and darkness. And while these cells with melanopsin might seem like minor players, the document makes it clear that they regulate a lot more than we might think.
Like what?
Our circadian rhythm, of course, but also our metabolism, our hunger cues, even our levels of motivation.
Wow, I wouldn't have guessed all of that was connected to our eyes.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Hmm.
The document reminds us that naturally our motivation tends to be lower at night, which makes sense from an evolutionary perspective. This also brings up the concept of metabolic jet lag, which the document points out isn't just caused by traveling across time zones.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. It's like your body's still on a different time zone, even though you're physically somewhere else.
Right. But metabolic jet lag can also affect people who work rotating shifts, for example, because it disrupts their natural light exposure patterns. And the document then goes on to make a fascinating evolutionary connection. It suggests that even before complex vision developed, the ability to perceive day and night was crucial for establishing internal biological clocks.
That makes sense. Even simple organisms need to know when it's safe to come out and forage for food or when to hide from predators.
Exactly. It's a fundamental survival mechanism. And over millions of years, this ability to sense light and darkness evolved into the complex vision system we have today.
So it's like our internal clock was there from the very beginning, helping us adapt to the rhythms of the natural world.
Absolutely. And the type of light we receive still has a profound impact on our biology, influencing everything from hormonal activity and cognitive function to energy levels and even reproduction.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It really makes you realize how deeply we're connected to light and how important it is for our overall well-being.
Absolutely. Now, the document then briefly touches on rhodopsin, which is another type of opsin that's particularly important for our low light vision. It's most active in the rods at night or in dimly lit environments.
So that's what helps us see in the dark.
Exactly. In those conditions, we rely more on distinguishing things by contrast rather than sharp detail or color. It's like switching from high-definition color to a black and white security camera feed.
Interesting analogy. So we've got melanopsin for our circadian rhythm and rhodopsin for low light vision. What about the opsins in the cones? Do they play a role in anything beyond color vision?
They do. The document explains that the cone opsins, especially those sensitive to blue light, can also affect our circadian cycle, potentially shifting our internal clock.
So that's why people say to avoid blue light in the evening if you want to sleep well.
Exactly. But the document also highlights the benefit of activating all three types of cones simultaneously. This is crucial for optimal color vision and sharp images, of course, but it also helps regulate the activity of our nervous system and our entire body. This is why full spectrum light, like natural sunlight, is so beneficial. It stimulates all three types of cones, providing a more balanced and complete visual experience.
And that's why we hear so much about getting enough sunlight, especially in the morning, to help set our circadian rhythm for the day.
Exactly. Now, before we get too carried away with all the external things we can do to improve our vision, the document has a pretty straightforward message about supplements, and it's this. There's no magical combination of supplements that will give you superhuman vision.
So no need to stock up on those expensive vision boosting pills.
Not necessarily. The document emphasizes that the focus should be on actively engaging with your vision through exercises and healthy habits, rather than relying on supplements as a quick fix.
That makes sense. It's about taking an active role in our eye health, rather than expecting a pill to do all the work.
Exactly. And this brings us to the topic of eye exercises. The document encourages us to be discerning, to look at which exercises have evidence supporting their benefits and which ones are less likely to make a real difference.
So let's separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. What does the document say about the effectiveness of different eye exercises?
Well, it mentions that some exercises might provide temporary improvements in how your vision feels, but that's often due to increased blood flow and muscle relaxation, both within the eye and in the surrounding muscles.
So you might feel more relaxed and less eye strain, but it's not necessarily changing your actual visual acuity.
Right. Then the document delves into extraocular muscle exercises, which focus on the 6 muscles that control eye movements.
Yeah, so looking up, down, side to side, all that.
Exactly. And while those exercises can be helpful for promoting blood flow, relaxation, balance, and posture, they likely won't have a significant impact on visual acuity itself.
Because they're not actually changing the shape of the eye, right?
Yeah, that's the idea. There was a theory that these extraocular muscles could somehow compress and lengthen the eyeball, which is a factor in myopia.
I see. But the document basically debunks that theory, saying those muscles aren't strong enough to permanently alter the shape of the eye.
Exactly. Next, the document addresses accommodation exercises. Now, accommodation refers to the eye's ability to adjust its focus for different distances.
Oh, like when you switch from looking at your phone to looking at something across the room.
Precisely. And the document reminds us that our eyes have a flexible lens called the crystalline lens that helps us do this.
Just like the lenses in eyeglasses.
Right. This lens has tiny muscles called ciliary muscles that contract to focus on close-up objects and relax to focus on distant objects.
Pretty neat how that works.
Right.
But I know that as we age, This lens can become less flexible, making it harder to focus on close-up things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's presbyopia, right?
Exactly. And that's where accommodation exercises come in. These exercises involve actively focusing on objects at different distances, and they can help improve presbyopia by strengthening and maintaining the flexibility of those ciliary muscles.
So it's like a workout for your eye muscles.
You could say that. And while accommodation exercises might not directly alter the physical shape of the eyeball, which is the main issue in myopia, they can still be beneficial, especially for children. Some evidence suggests these exercises might help slow the progression of nearsightedness in younger individuals, and they can definitely provide a sense of relief and relaxation for the eyes, especially if you spend a lot of time focusing up close.
So it's not a cure for myopia, but it could potentially help prevent it from getting worse, especially in kids. That's good to know.
Yes. And here's another interesting point the document makes. By constantly focusing on close-up tasks, our brains become super efficient at interpreting those near images. But that can come at the expense of our ability to process distant images as effectively. So even if we can't easily change the length of the eye in most cases of myopia, we can influence how our brain interprets distant vision.
So how do we do that?
By actively training accommodation, intentionally focusing on objects that are farther and farther away. This helps relax the ciliary muscle when we look at the distance and improves our brain's ability to interpret that distant vision more effectively. And it can be helpful in reducing those tension headaches that can sometimes be associated with prolonged visual strain.
So it's not just about exercising the eye muscles, it's also about training the brain to process visual information differently.
Exactly. Now, the document then highlights another type of exercise, lazy eye exercises. And this is one area where the document is very clear these exercises work and there's solid scientific backing for them.
For those who might not be familiar, can you explain what a lazy eye is?
Sure. A lazy eye, or amblyopia, is a condition where one eye doesn't see as clearly as the other, usually due to a developmental issue in early childhood. The brain favors the stronger eye, and the weaker eye doesn't develop its full potential.
So it's not that the eye itself is lazy, it's more about the brain's connection to that eye.
Exactly. And the document explains that even if someone doesn't have a diagnosed lazy eye, most of us have one eye that's naturally stronger or dominant than the other, sometimes even with a slightly different visual field.
I've noticed that myself. I definitely tend to favor one eye when I'm aiming a camera or looking through a telescope.
Right. And this subtle imbalance, even if it's not causing noticeable vision problems, can lead to us tilting our heads or favoring one side, which can affect our posture and balance.
It makes sense that our bodies would compensate for those slight differences in our vision.
Exactly. But the good news is that actively training the weaker eye has significant benefits, even for those without amblyopia.
Yeah, the benefits.
It improves neuronal plasticity, which is the brain's ability to rewire itself. It also enhances posture, balance, and of course strengthens the vision in the weaker eye itself.
So even if you think your vision is pretty good, there might still be room for improvement by training your weaker eye. How do you do that?
The method is surprisingly simple. Just cover your stronger eye for about 5 to 10 minutes each day while you're reading or looking at distant objects. This forces the weaker eye to work harder and strengthens its connection to the brain.
Easy enough. So we've talked about different types of eye exercises, but the document also emphasizes the importance of something much simpler and more natural, spending time outdoors.
Absolutely. The document highlights the remarkable benefits of exposing our eyes to natural light and the potential downsides of spending too much time indoors, especially for children.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about that lately, how kids are spending less time playing outside than previous generations.
Right. And the document shares a compelling example of the Taiwanese government's public health program that requires schools to ensure children spend at least 2 hours each day outdoors. This initiative actually led to a significant decrease in the rate at which myopia was increasing in that population.
That's amazing. It's like a real-world experiment showing the positive impact of outdoor time on eye health.
Exactly. And the document also points out a concerning trend. Children today spend less than half the amount of time outdoors compared to their parents when they were growing up. And those parents, in turn, spent significantly less time outside than their grandparents did.
Wow, that's a pretty dramatic decline in outdoor time over just a few generations.
It is. And while the Taiwanese study focused on a minimum of 2 hours, the document suggests that even longer exposure to the outdoors is likely to be even more beneficial. It proposes that being outside naturally encourages us to focus our eyes on objects in the distance, unlike when we're indoors and most of our visual attention is directed at things close by.
Makes sense. When you're outside, your visual field is much wider, and there's more opportunity to look at things far away.
Precisely. And here's a key takeaway the document emphasizes: the importance of exposing your eyes to high levels of natural light without constantly wearing sunglasses, unless they're absolutely necessary for protection.
Because sunglasses reduce the amount of light reaching the retina, right?
Exactly. They're great for protecting our eyes from harmful UV rays, but we don't want to block out all the beneficial light that helps regulate our vision and our circadian rhythm. The document even jokingly suggests that maybe you should listen to this deep dive episode while you're out enjoying the sunshine.
That's a great idea. I might just do that. So even if our work or hobbies involve a lot of screen time, simply moving those activities outdoors whenever possible can make a positive difference.
Absolutely. And the same goes for children playing video games. Encouraging them to play outside not only gets them moving, but also exposes their eyes to that beneficial natural light. It's a win-win.
Absolutely. So to sum it all up, we've learned just how profoundly our vision affects us, influencing not only what we see, but also our mood, our focus, and even our sleep patterns. We've explored the alarming rise of myopia and the likely role of environmental factors in this trend.
We've delved into the amazing work of the retina, which not only processes light, but also plays a crucial role in regulating our circadian rhythm and metabolism.
And we've looked at the effectiveness of different eye exercises, highlighting the benefits of accommodation exercises for age-related vision changes and lazy eye exercises for strengthening the weaker eye.
But perhaps the most important takeaway is the power of spending regular time outdoors, exposing our eyes to the full spectrum of natural light. It's a simple yet profound way to support our vision and overall well-being.
Couldn't agree more. And on that note, here's a final thought for you to consider. Given this incredible connection between light and our biology, how might intentionally adjusting your daily exposure to different types and amounts of light further enhance your energy levels, your focus, and the quality of your sleep? It's something to ponder and perhaps experiment with in your own life.
Absolutely. There's so much we're still learning about this complex and fascinating relationship between light and our health.
It's an exciting area of research, and I'm eager to see what new discoveries emerge in the years to come. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of vision.
My pleasure. Until next time.